first album review for this year will be the brand new album Letter to Self by the band Sprints. So short bio here. Letter to Self is the debut studio album by Irish four-piece band Sprints. It was released on January 5th, 2024. So Eric, your thoughts on this album?
So I definitely waited to the last minute to listen to this album. So like I pretty much crushed it. I crushed it 3 times. I
Oh,
listened to it 3 times.
nice.
And the first listen, like I felt like the opener was not the right tone, but I had no idea who these guys were until this made the list, and I did some research. And I have to say, at the beginning, I was like, I don't know about this one, Kev. And then the guitar came in on the first song, and I was like, okay, I can get behind this. I mean, they're like a the best way to describe this band, it's like U2 mixed with Paramore and Iggy Pop.
You two mix with Paramore and okay, okay, I could see that. I could see
Hmm.
that. I was gonna go more of like the Sonic Youth, more grungy
Mm,
angle, but no, I
yes,
I could see that.
yes,
I could see that too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes. Sonic Youth for the guitar
Yes.
part, because
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a song Heavy, which is the second song, and when the guitar comes in, the da-na-na-na-na-na,
Yeah.
I was like, I've like, oh, this reminds me of a band, and it's Sonic Youth.
Yeah.
That's it. So when I listened to the album first, I was kind of like put off by that first song, Ticking. I think they could have probably opened the album with Heavy. However, you could argue, and I'm I'm saying however because of the Kelly Clarkson fans and all the stuff that commented on us before. Um, I understand why they chose Ticking, because it was like a good transition into like the feel of this band.
Mm.
Um, so I mean, I actually, the more I listen to these guys, the more I actually like them. And I would love to see these guys in a small venue, because they're probably still playing like those, like, the Horseshoe Taverns
Yeah.
of the
The
world,
bars.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like the bars, which is like a perfect place for this band. Um, I mean, I love the guitar. The guitar was kick ass in this album. It's very like grungy and dirty sounding, like
Mhm.
like the entire like sound of the band, which is kind of cool. I didn't dig, which I found annoying, was the like the speaking slash singing
Mm.
parts where the girls kind of singing off key,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, like this is very like, I get it, right? But I felt like they overkilled it a bit. But other than that, like I actually enjoyed it. I actually
Nice.
quite enjoyed this album. I thought it was a cool, like I'm excited to see what they come out with next. I think that sound that they have for their guitar is perfect.
Mm.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
change anything about that.
Yeah. No, definitely the guitar. Like there's I think it's a wreck, like the ninth track, a wreck, a mess. There's like just some uh let's just say innovative guitar playing on there. There's a lot of like percussive stuff that they do and then put through like a feedback loop, and it's a lot of cool stuff that they do on guitar. I want to say that I did like this album and I did like some of the songs, but very much like Sonic Youth and those types of bands, it's just not my cup of tea. Like
Mhm.
I when I listen to bands like that, I'm like, okay, this is some pretty cool stuff, but generally after like the second minute, I'm like, okay, I'm sort of bored of sort of this noise, this wash of noise that they're producing, or like, the repetitiveness of the guitars and the drums and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So like I think in terms of where this is placed genre wise, it's definitely not something that I would ever listen to over and over again. But listening to this album, I did enjoy like some of these songs. And I think they're actually like really good, well written songs. It's just I always find it a bit boring after a few minutes for each of these songs,
Mhm.
which is a problem I have, not just with this band, but just any band in this sort of genre or soundscape. So
Mhm.
overall, I thought it was good though. I thought it was a good album. I did like some of the
I
songs.
I would rather see this band live.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
I feel like this band would kick ass live, and I think that just it doesn't portray who they are in the album.
Yeah.
Like, they're gonna really show who they are live on the stage.
Yeah. And to that point, listening to this album, a lot of the tracks, I felt it sounded more like a demo cassette to me.
Mhm.
Because even when there's certain songs where the drums are isolated and it's just a drummer playing, it sounds like it's in like a wind tunnel or something. Like the bass
Mhm.
drum is just like whoom, whoom, and it's just like, oh, why didn't you just record this properly? But like
Mhm.
at the same time, it's one, a debut album, and two, this is I would assume this is some sort of like smaller indie type of band. So like you're not gonna
Mhm.
spend $100,000 on a recording. So I sort of
Mhm.
get that, and also like the genre that it's placed in, you technically don't need the cleanest sounding recordings. Like that's not the point. Um, but yeah, a lot of this sounds very demo-y to me,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah,
fine.
no, I'd have to agree with you for sure. And it's interesting because I always find it fascinating when these bands they have an album. So it's like a new a band, but they've been around since like 2018, 2019, right? So they've definitely worked for this to come out.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool to see. So like it's that hardworking band, like new band mentality of like just going out there and giving it. I did find on the album, like overall, I thought that the track placement was pretty good.
Mm. Yep.
I thought definitely the opening half was better than the second half. However, which is usually the case, I always find. But there were some songs that just seemed out of place. There was like a couple like almost like ballad-esque songs in here, and then you would get into like this hardcore like punky song,
Right.
like, and you're just like, okay, that's like the transition to that was not probably the greatest, but overall, like for what this band is, I think it was well put out.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see what these guys come out with, like with more experience.
Yeah. 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 All right. Eric, final thoughts, ratings for Letter to Self by Sprints.
I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10.
Mm, okay. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
7. Opening the year with a 7 out of 10. That's not too bad.
Mhm.
Um,
There's a couple of songs that are definitely gonna be put on my like daily playlist that
oh,
I
cool.
listen to. So yeah.
Nice. Um, I'm gonna temper myself because I feel like a lot of times when these bands
I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10.
no,
Just kidding.
I'm gonna give this a 6 out of 10 because I felt like it was good. It was above average album, but it wasn't a great album. So I'm giving it a 6 because I feel like if I give this a 7 or higher, it's not gonna give me a lot of leeway for the rest of the year to give
Yeah.
actual great albums like a better score. It's not gonna make sense. So
Mm,
I think for me this sits properly in a 6 out of
yeah.
10
Yeah, and
because
then when we do
it's
the
above
yearly
average.
review, you'll bump it up to a 7.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe everything else this year is gonna be crap in comparison, but
Mhm,
yeah, 6 out of 10 for me because it's just slightly above average, where a 5 out of
mhm,
10 would be an average album. Um, but yeah, I think it's worth listening to for anyone that's into like sort of that grungy hardcore punk with some melody and some noise. Like it's firmly sits
mhm,
in that sort of soundscape. So it's a really good album to open the year.
mhm.
Okay, perfect. That was our discussion on Letter to Self by Sprints. For those of you who are following along with us every episode, the next let me just pull this up. Okay, the next album that we are going to be listening to and discussing is the brand new Kid Cudi album, Insano. I've already started listening to this and I'm pretty excited. I've only listened to like the first few songs, so I'm pretty excited, but Yeah, Kid Cudi's new album Insano, it's out now, so we're going to be discussing this one next week. All right, and that is the podcast for this week. Welcome to 2024, everyone. This is the Crossroads Music Podcast. We're here at twitch.tv/the Crossroads Music Podcast every Wednesday, but I think we're moving to Monday next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. So we will be back.
Let me just check. Let me just check quickly here. Hang on.
10 p.m.
Hang on. Where are we?
ET, 7 p.m. PT on
Monday. Yes.
Monday. There you go. So we're back sooner than usual, but yes. Monday, 10 p.m. ET, 7 p.m. PT here at twitch.tv/the Crossroads Music Podcast, or Spotify, Apple Music for the audio only version of this podcast, and YouTube, where we post the album reviews. So feel free to shout at us there if you disagree with anything we said tonight.
Yes. Or you agree with us. So we would also like to hear that too.
Yeah, if you agree.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's the podcast. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Chasing Dragonflies, thanks for the raid, and then we will catch you all next week.
Cheers.